let's get to today's topic, which is Sagar Manthan. So why is Sagar Manthan? What is Sagar Manthan doing in a scientific program, right? Very natural question, and we should ask that. So it is a mythological story, right? As most of you, I'm hoping, might understand. It is not a historical event. It's a mythological story. There are gods, there are demons, and they play their own churning game. And finally, a lot of things comes out, right? And the last thing is Amrit, which means immortality. Is this a story, or is there a deeper spiritual meaning to this? Is there something like that is what we want to find out. And for that, Sunil is ready. He's a speaker for today. I can see the smile. Bring it on, Sunil. So with that, let's welcome Sunil.
Well, yes, that's a very classic and very good question. Yes, this question arises whenever this topic is mentioned across. Yes, today we're going to discuss about Sagar Manthan. What has this story to do with, in a scientific platform? Well, we all know that these stories are one way to express, to teach certain concepts and, the life stories to the people. So today we have all the technology, and there are different ways of learning systems. So in the past, it was all mostly narrated using a story. So why this story is relevant today and at this point of time? Very important. So we all have a right intention and right attitude of getting into this meditation. And there are some expectations as well, right? Expectations are right expectations. But in this journey, we will encounter a lot of not so positive things as well, the so-called negative things too. That is where we are getting into the story. So if you look at any game, you all have hurdles, be it a relay race or any form of game that you see across. There are hurdles, there are challenges in its way, and we overcome. We take those challenges one at a time, and we try to solve them and get on with it. So similarly, in this part of spiritual journey, in our path of meditation, we find positives and negatives too. And it's important that these positive and negative aspects come, because that is when you can win over this mind. That is when we can actually achieve what we really want. So let me straight away get to the story. So we'll just go through the story and understand what exactly the story is trying to tell us. So the story, I'm not getting into the very detailed and minute aspects of the story. I'm going to touch through the application where exactly this is relevant. So to begin with, I'll narrate the characters of the story, the main role players, and then we will get into the story. The whole spirituality and self-transformation is typically a churning process. And as I said, we have those positive and negative aspects. So we need to actually integrate between these positive and negative aspects of the human personality. So in our practice, both negative and positive play a very important role. They create certain barriers and difficulties in our journey. And it is up to us how we can understand them and overcome those barriers and difficulties and move on the path. So they challenge these practitioners to improve the methods and strengthen ourselves to resolve whatever challenges that we face on the way. So any seeker or any yogi, as long as they are vulnerable to them, we cannot progress. We have seen this in ourselves. Many of us have aspired for many things, but in its way, we actually lost somewhere. We would have lost due to negligence or lost due to various factors like procrastination or maybe certain negative things that came by, and we would have long forgotten about what exactly our path was. This typically happens, and this will typically happen in our meditation journey as well. So this is beautifully explained in the story of Sagar Manthan, and the whole process is all about self-transformation, that Manthan. So from the story, if I can just take a few seconds to just narrate, there were Devas and Asuras. There were certain conflicts. Asuras were taking over the Devas, and they came to a conclusion that both Devas and Asuras are going to take part in a churning and try to get the elixir. Whoever drinks the elixir, they have gained immortality. So the churning was inevitable. That is when Asuras and Devas came to a common agreement that let us go ahead and do this churning. So the first character, gods and demons, they represent good and the bad. The participation of both signify that when humans seek liberation through spiritual practice, we have to integrate and harmonize between both the subtle and the gross bodies in them, so that we can harness both positive and negative energies and still move on. The ocean of milk, also known as Kshir Sagar, this represents the mind. And those small and big waves that comes and goes, they are nothing but thoughts and emotions. Mount Mandhara. This mountain stands for concentration. So Dhara. Man is mind. Dhara is single line, the single line of concentration. Tortoise. Tortoise stands for withdrawal of mind and senses into oneself. Now, this is very essential during the practice of meditation. The serpent Vasuki. Serpent represents the desire or intention. The Manthan, the churning process. So this represents the spiritual transformation or the purification of mind and body, the whole process. Halahal, the great poison. So this represents all the negativity that surfaces in our consciousness when we start or when we begin this spiritual practice. It is instability of body and mind as a counter reaction against one's own spiritual practice. Lord Shiva symbolizes ascetic principle, the destroyer of illusion, inwardly detached or an austere. It also means gaining control over mind through breath control. We remember Shiva is also known as Praneshwara, the Lord of Breath. The divine objects, this stands for spiritual power or the perfections. Dhanvantri signifies that the spiritual success can be achieved only when the body and mind are in a perfect state of health, the one who brought Amrit. Mohini, the delusion of mind in the form of pride and ego, also symbolizes the power of Maya. Now, this is actually the last hurdle one has to overcome in the spiritual life before experiencing the self-realization. And finally, the Amrit, the self-realization, the liberation. So now let's get into the story. At the point when this Manthan started, now before we begin the story, let me also try to explain. Please relate this with your own journey of your meditation. There is a great relation here. So at this point of self-transformation that we all decided, okay, let me get into the meditation and let me get into the spiritual journey. Gods and demons firmly held the Vasuki. Now here, God and demons are nothing but good and bad qualities, the good and bad qualities within us. Serpent Vasuki is desire. They held this serpent Vasuki as a rope and churned this ocean of milk. What is ocean of milk? The mind. With the assistance of Mount Mandhara, the concentration, and tortoise, withdrawal of senses. The primary thing to manifest was halahal, the negativities like I have pains, I have negative emotions coming up. I have different other experiences. I have people talking negative about this, or negativity which is both inward and outward. All of this negativity surfaces. That's the primary thing that manifests during this churning process. That is when Lord Shiva comes and gulps the gulps the negativity. So Lord Shiva here stands for the self-discipline. And again, the churning began. So when the churning began, divine objects started to show up. Now, divine objects are all perfections. The perfections, that the so-called good things that we experience during meditation. Lastly, Dhanvantri appeared with the Amrit. And the Amrit is nothing but the health and physical wellness and liberation. Once that came, Mohini showed up. Mohini is as pride and ego, the delightful lady to delude the demons. So demons were, everyone was focused to win in their own way. Now demons nearly forgot their very purpose of doing this Manthan, and they got distracted with Mohini. That is nothing but pride. But whereas Devas, they were firm for their purpose. They didn't get distracted, and that is when they got Amrit. They got that self-realization, and it got disseminated to the gods. So the demons lost this opportunity of getting this Amrit just because of this ego. So the important message here is we should throw away the precious opportunity by pursuing evil desires or engaging in selfish actions under the spell of Maya. We should practice meditation, cultivate divine qualities, work towards liberation without being deluded or distracted, and without losing our focus on liberation. So that's the short and quick story of that's the quick story about the Sagar Manthan, how this is related to our meditation practice. This is the journey. There is a Manthan going around within our minds, within this journey. And it is up to us to see the negatives and the positives. And as Shiva gulps the halahal, that is when we mention, come back to our breath and the self-discipline that we have. So it is that breath, because if you notice Shiva gulps, but it rests over here. I mean, Parvati comes and holds, and those are the story. So Shiva is also known as Nilakantha, the blue, the color that comes on the neck. So it represents breath, it represents this control. So the halahal, the poison, is not getting into the body and not getting into the mind. It is just held there. That is when we focus, when we say we focus on your breath, observe your breath. With the help of breath, we're actually we are just standing neutral. We are not getting anywhere. We're not getting this side or that side of the fulcrum. So that's the application of Sagar Manthan, if you call in the science terminology, the application of this story into today's life of self-transformation. And this self-transformation, my time is all about that. All through 33 days, we are going to be discussing a lot of things, and we are going to experience a lot. We have already heard a lot of emotional experiences that we are going through, and it's a Manthan process. So it's absolutely fine. All we need to do is focus on the breath, keep an observation on what is happening, and just move on, carry on with this journey. So that's the mythological side of this story. We now really need to get into this science aspect as well, because we just cannot stay with mythology. Let us look at this science aspect, and we all heard about this subconscious mind and conscious mind. There is a big relevance of this science into this story as well. So I'll invite Pruthvi, who has this backing and background of researching in this mind matters and things like that. So Pruthvi, I want you to share your side of getting into this subconscious mind and conscious mind. Pruthvi, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you so much, Sunil. That was actually for the first time when I heard the Sagar Manthan, I could correlate to so much of research work that I was doing. And especially, with one point which actually hit me is the first 2 years of my meditation practice, I was doing guided meditations. So I used to listen to some guidance, and that was actually helping me to ease up and relax. It was helping me to beat the stress and be in that relaxation mode. It was helping me to heal to certain extent only. But when I got into the research part of this meditation, I understood the longer duration that we meditate and the more regular we are with the meditation, we can actually tap into the subconscious mind and see the patterns that which are within us. That is where meditation becomes a transformative practice. Till then, just 20 minutes, 15 minutes, just relaxation, it eases up the body. It takes us out of this compulsive, impulsive mode that we are operating from. But regular and longer duration of meditation is the tool that actually transforms us. So let's see what exactly this subconscious mind is, and also how meditation helps us to see the patterns and beliefs and perceptions that are in the subconscious mind. So for that, I'll just quickly share my screen. So let's understand the subconscious mind today. You are seeing the picture of this picture. You might have seen this picture a lot many times when we talk about subconscious mind. So it's only the tip of the bird that we are conscious. The mind is divided into conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious. The conscious part is only 10%, and the rest of the 90% is subconscious. And according to the psychology, we operate almost 95% of the time in the day from the subconscious mind. So very little percentage that we are operating consciously. So are we really aware of what exactly is in subconscious mind? Really not, because the subconscious mind is developed in the first 7 years of our age. When we were kids, we were predominantly in the theta state. I talked about these different states in my first session. So theta is the subconscious mind. That is where one person, a kid, starts downloading and programming its mind when depending on its environment. If a kid is told that not to eat mud and to eat fruits in a certain way, and whatever it is taught, whatever it hears, whatever it looks at, everything is downloaded into its system, especially gets into the subconscious mind. And after that 7 years of life, the 7 years, it starts living its life from subconscious mind. So the kid is getting programmed from the environment and taking the patterns from its environment, from parents, society, school, and whoever it comes in contact with. So what exactly is in the subconscious mind is the personal beliefs, cultural beliefs, and the self-image or the identity. This is very, very important because most of us carry the self-image saying that I am not good enough, I am not confident, I'm not beautiful. So these images or identity that we have is embedded in the subconscious, which happens in the early childhood. So here, one point that I want to actually stress upon is the observation that we talked about yesterday. So this conscious mind, the 10% of the mind, can be observed easily using the 5 senses, whereas the subconscious mind is not easily observed using the 5 senses. We need extra senses and more awareness to observe the subconscious mind, which happens only in meditation, because we get into subconscious mind when we sleep, where we are not aware of these patterns. But only in meditation, we get into the subconscious mind with awareness. And also, here I want you to look at this one word called fear. So, subconscious mind is programmed based on the fear, because our parents, society, everything, they condition us to survive, to be safe, to be secure, which is based on fear. That is why the subconscious mind resists change. It is not at all open for change. If you are getting stressed with the change, that means you are operating from the subconscious mind and are not open for the change. So here you can see the unconscious, which is very deeper than subconscious, where the shame and the guilt reside. And we really don't know why this shame and guilt is there within. So here what happens is the fear mode always keeps us in survival mode. So these patterns that we have taken up from our environment shapes our perception towards the world, and it contributes to be in this survival mentality. So that is the reason we are always in the impulsive reaction, or we feel stuck in this limiting beliefs. So we always have this mindset of lack and victim. We say, oh, I am unlucky, this is happening with me, and I need to be, doing something about this. I need to improve. So we are always in that lack mode, in that victimized mode, because of the fear that is embedded in the subconscious mind, which we are really not aware of. Why this happens is because, the cavemen have taken this limbic part of the brain from the amphibians. So amphibians always lived in this what we call as fight or flight mode, where that fight or flight mode helped them to survive. Whenever there was a threat, they used to either fight back or run away to keep themselves alive. You can see here this limbic part of the brain, we call it as the child of the brain. It is a very, very old limbic, which is coming from the amphibians, which helps us to be alive and wants us to feel good, and it dislikes the pain. But unfortunately, even after ages of this evolution, we are still programmed to live in this limbic system only. We are still predominantly using this limbic system and trying to survive, to fit in this society, but we are not using the adult part of the brain, that is the pre-cortex. So prefrontal cortex, which helps us to plan and to make better decisions and to control the organizations of their emotional reactions. We are not using this adult part of the brain because prefrontal cortex is active only when we are conscious, when we operate from the conscious mind and not from the subconscious. I first mentioned that just 5% of the time in the day we are conscious. Rest 95% we are operating from this survival mode, from this lack state, from this victimized state, which always puts us in the fear. So how does meditation and subconscious mind help? How does meditation help us to know the subconscious mind is the longer duration we sit in the meditation. The first 20 minutes we relax, we ease, we get comfortable. After that 20 minutes, we start becoming aware of the inner mind. We start becoming aware of every single cell of the body. To experience this, practically, I I did Vipassana. In Vipassana, the longer duration I meditated, I became so aware of my body that every single cell I could sense it. And I saw that every cell had a memory. And that is when I could relate the subject psychoneuroimmunology to the meditation practice, because psychoneuroimmunology says that mind is not in the brain, but in every single cell of our body. So every single cell carries memory. Only when we become aware of ourselves, we start seeing those patterns, we start seeing those memories, and we start identifying that, yes, I have these patterns in my subconscious. And also what happens, you talked about the churning process. The longer duration of meditation helps in this churning of the mind, where, a lot of embedded emotions, we keep suppressing so many emotions. There was a question in the previous session saying that I get anger, what should I be doing? And most of the time we think anger is a bad emotion and we try to suppress it. And if in case we express it also, later we start regretting and beating up on ourselves. So what happens with that is we start accumulating so many emotions into the body. When we meditate, when we become aware of every single cell, these emotions, these patterns start coming onto the layer. This exactly happened with me when I came into breath meditation. The longer duration I meditated, I used to get tears, I used to cry. I didn't understand why this was happening, but after that sitting, I used to feel more lighter. So these difficult emotions which we have suppressed in the body starts coming onto the layer, and what we should be doing is just let it out. That's all. We have to not judge or beat ourselves that I am having these emotions or I am having these limiting beliefs. In meditation, we will see these difficult emotions. We will identify these limiting beliefs that are within us. But what we should be doing is not judge ourselves, not blame our surrounding that we were conditioned to have these limiting beliefs. That will not help us, because subconscious mind resists change. If you try to impose anything on it, it will not accept. So we need to see it as it is. First identify, accept it as it is, and allow the difficult emotions to arise and be there and enjoy it. There's one saying called, you will heal only if you feel it. So all that difficult emotions that you have suppressed in the body, you have to let yourself to feel those emotions to heal it. You cannot run away and keep pushing it away. That will only keep accumulating more and making you heavier, but it will not make you lighter. So allow it, accept it. By this, we start reprogramming our subconscious mind. So being in that neutrality that you spoke about, Sunil, and seeing both good and bad that comes in the meditation will help us to accept things as they are and to be in that observation mode and become more conscious. Carl Jung says that until you make your subconscious conscious, you cannot be a creator. So the more you be an observer, you will make your subconscious mind conscious. You start identifying those patterns. You start letting go of those heavy emotions from your body, and you start shifting from survival mode to creator mode. This is the beautiful happening if you continue the meditation practice. So survival mode is all about being in the fear and in that lack, victimized mode, being depressed or anxious. And creator mode is all about being in love frequency, in that higher frequency which Yash talked about yesterday. So how do we really know that we are making progress towards this creator mode? How do we really know when we are meditating? But what is that one sign will tell us that yes, you are getting towards that creator mode? That is the level of gratitude that you feel every single day. Once you start coming out of fear, you will start looking at life with more gratitude, with more thankfulness. That is the sign that you are making progress and moving towards being a creator and not just be a victimized and in that lack mode. So how do we cultivate more of this creator mode in our daily life is firstly, a longer duration and regular meditation is a must. That is something that we cannot take for granted. Secondly, the first 20 or 30 minutes of the day, as soon as you wake up from your sleep, your brain and your conscious mind slowly starts coming out of subconscious. And before it becomes conscious, there is one period of time, that is the first 20 minutes, which you can use it for reprogramming your subconscious mind. That is the time where you have to sit with yourself in silence and make an intention that let me be more operating from the heart space throughout the day. This one intention will set the creator mode for the rest of the day. So use that 20-30 minutes of your day to set your intention to operate from the heart space and not the mind space. And lastly, I want to share one last and most important research that happened in Stanford University. What they did was they took the data and studied about 35 authors. They wanted to know how do they create or write books, what inspired them, and what is that qualities that they really have. So before doing this research, they were in a mindset thinking that these authors have, they are more well-read, they have more knowledge, they read a lot of books and they create something. But interestingly, these authors never got into that consumer mode. They were never in that lack or, thinking that I need to know more, I need to have more knowledge to write a book. They were never in that consumption or lack mode. They were always creating, they were always writing. And one quality that put them into that creator mode was the quality to serve the humanity, where they had a bigger picture to help the humanity and the planet. After doing this research, the researchers concluded saying that until a person is stuck with me and myself, he or she is going to be in that fear-based victim mode. But the moment a person chooses to, expand and think about the humanity and a bigger perspective, even at least helping another person, his or her vision starts expanding and it naturally puts them into that creator mode. So the choice is all ours. So with this, I think I backed up with the scientific perspective of Sagar Manthan. Thank you so much, Sunil. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Pruthvi. Well, I cannot ask for a better explanation than this. Thank you so very much. You nailed it, I must say, to complement the science aspect to a mythological story. These are indeed very much important. Well, yes, in the interest of time, I'll quickly hand it over to Shibu. Over to you, Shibu.
Wow, I don't know what to say, guys. This was amazing. Because we all come into meditation thinking it's the next day onwards will be calmer, right? It's easier said than done. It's like stirring the pot. If we don't know what's in it, right? As Pruthvi mentioned, 95% unknown, right? Which comes up. Beautiful, beautiful explanation, guys. So much information, which is very important in this process. And also, I mean, Pruthvi, the survival mode which you're mentioning, right? It's funny that there are no tigers attacking us every moment, right? We're still in that mode. It's so funny if you think about it. Beautiful, guys. All right. So before we start the Q&A, I also wanted to just mention a couple of things. We all had our why for coming into this meditation, right? We all answered that, whether it is health or other reasons, right? Could be health, it could be for managing stress. We all had that. We were expecting some changes. This is what Sunil and Pruthvi was talking about. Changes. But now we know change is a process. And we know it is not always going to be pleasant, right? It might test our patience. You might feel like quitting. You should know that all of this is coming, right? But that is when think about the butterfly. Butterfly wasn't born a butterfly. It was born a caterpillar. It went through the grind to become a butterfly. It did not just born as a butterfly, right? If the caterpillar had quit, it would have stayed as a caterpillar. It would not be flying around beautifully, right? It did not quit. Sometimes the old has to die, friends, for the new. And that is, just remember this, we are all butterflies in the making. It is a process. Doesn't matter where we stand. We are becoming butterflies. And that is where trust comes in. Understand, patience and trust. Know the process, understand it, and trust it. Remember, again, butterfly in the making. All right, so with that, I'm opening it up for questions. We have these two amazing masters in here, and we should be giving some tough questions, right? Raise your hands, please. Type in your chat. Type in the questions in the chat. We don't have a lot of time, but we want to take some questions for sure. There is a question about what is a super conscious mind. Pruthvi, you might want to take that.
Okay. So the conscious mind is more of a collective conscious mind, I would say, where one operates from no body and no mind perspective. So one will not be totally aware of what body or mind they have. They're totally, they will be a total channel, and we call it as a flow state. Usually the artists who perform on the stages, sometimes they forget everything and they're just into the process of doing what they are. So that we call it a super conscious state. So unconscious mind, I would say when you sit for a regular meditation for a longer period, definitely we become aware of those unconscious patterns and whatever their, the guilt or the shame that is there in the unconscious, we start becoming aware of those things. And definitely, yes, we tap into that delta state that I spoke about in the first session. So yes, in meditation, only in meditation that happens.
So another question is how to process emotions.
I would just say that express and feel it. Don't really judge for having any difficult emotions. In fact, there was a research done in Berkeley University which said that the varied emotions that one person experiences, he or she is more healthier than a person who pretends to be more positive all the time. So it is absolutely fine to experience all kinds of emotions.
Yeah, so while meditating, is it necessary to put the back straight? As per Bhagavad Gita, we should be straight while meditating. But as per Patriji, no need of maintaining the back straight. There is a contradiction. Can you please explain?
Well, as I said, the very purpose of meditation is to be at ease. So to be at ease, we need to actually literally be at ease, literally sit at ease. Sukhasana is what is highly recommended. Yes, what Bhagavad Gita has mentioned is correct. But if you look at our own lifestyles these days, we are all not used to sitting with us back straight. The most ideal way of sitting is keeping the back straight. Indeed, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But at the moment when we start, we are not used to, first thing. Second thing, when we all of a sudden come and sit straight and start meditating, the entire focus goes on your back. Maybe for first few seconds, first few minutes, you will be able to keep your back straight, but it will start spraining. So the very purpose of meditation gets lost, and the demon of that pain will grow so big that you will give up, and you will just forget your purpose. You will just start disliking this sitting of meditation. So that's the reason Patriji has mentioned. He has simplified the entire process. If your back sprains, it's okay. I mean, you have to just relax, take support of your back, and as long as and when you start getting comfortable based on your pace and based on your own physical, whatever strength, you can start practicing without back support in the due course of time. But the purpose is not about sitting straight. The purpose is to come to that sthira sukhasana and that Mount Manthara, come to that straight line of concentration of breath.
Thank you, Sunil. And I've also seen that over the years, I have seen that my posture has changed. And that is nothing which was done consciously, right? As we keep meditating, as we receive energy, and a lot of things changes, and the posture also adjusts. So start with exactly as Sunil mentioned, be comfortable, don't worry about it, don't worry about the end state. Be in any posture which is comfortable and stable, and let it flow. Let's just continue the process.